All right, the Knicks, they made some news this week, adding a new voice to their coaching staff. Billy Lange is coming in to run player development, a role that will have a direct impact on the team's younger talent and their long-term growth. So, what does this hire really mean for the Knicks, both in the short term and for the future? To help break it all down, I'm joined by our Knicks beat reporter, Stefan Bondy, who's with me now. Steph, what's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Not much. I am doing well. And Steph, let's get into it right here. For those who may not be familiar with Billy Lange's work, what qualities did he bring to the table that convinced the Knicks that he was the right fit for their player development role?
Well, I mean, listen, he has the connection, the Villanova connection. I think that's important. So a lot of this is about relationships. But if you look at his career, he spent much of his NBA assistant career with at Philadelphia with the Sixers during their process era, where basically the whole thing was for years player development, player development. And I'm looking at a text message right now for players he specifically worked with the most. Ben Simmons early on, Robert Covington, Jeremy Grant, Jahlil Okafor, and Michael Carter Williams. Michael Carter Williams obviously was Rookie of the Year. Jeremy Grant exceeded expectations, and Ben Simmons early on certainly looked good. So I heard he has the Villanova connection. He is very much Kyle Lowry's guy. He was at Villanova when Kyle Lowry was there. He recruited Josh Hart to Villanova. He's a South Jersey, Philly guy, and that's what the Knicks kind of culture is right now. South Philly, Philly. I mean, South Jersey and Philly. Um, and listen, I think an important aspect of this was player development was an emphasis when they fired Tom Thibodeau and decided to go for a new coach. With the coaches that they interviewed, they made it very clear that player development was a big aspect of this hiring. They wanted all the coaches to be on board with that. So to hire a guy that's now in charge of that with the history that Billy Lange has, having coached in many different spots, including at St. Joe's, most recently, I think that underscores that how important it is to the organization.
Yeah, it's very important to the organization right now. How do you see Lang's previous coaching or development experience that you just talked all about translating into improved growth for the Knicks' younger roster pieces, say somebody like Pacom Dadier or Tyler Kolek? How do you see that helping those guys and the younger players on the roster?
Well, I think I can't go into specifically how Billy Lang is going to do that, but I think when you emphasize player development and you look at it from that view, where this is now something that's going to be important because we're going to give these guys more of an opportunity. We want to make sure that they're developing in order to help us not only now but in the long term and become trade assets and all those things. I think that's going to help them certainly. They're going to be more of an emphasis on developing the guys that are not in the rotation, that are not playing as much. So, as far as what Billy is going to do, I don't know, but I think the emphasis on it is certainly going to help guys like that you mentioned.
Yes, hopefully it can help those younger players. Steph, are there any particular skill areas with Lang, like shooting, decision making, defense, et cetera, like that, where he's shown strength in past roles that you believe the Knicks are hoping that he can help tighten up with this team?
Well, in Philly, I just got off the phone with somebody from there. My understanding is that one season he was running the offense, and then Lloyd Pierce left, and he was running the defense, and so he has that kind of schematic experience coaching in the NBA, and I heard he's a big relationship guy and communication guy, and I think that's important when you're in this role of player development because you have to have people believe in what you're doing. I heard Jimmy Butler gave him a hard time, so him and Karl Anthony Towns can kind of bond over their Jimmy Butler trauma. But I don't know. I've heard very good things about him, and obviously connections help, and he has those as well.
Yeah, no, definitely helps in the communication, all the stuff you talked about. Last thing for me here, Steph, is, and you touched on this just a little bit before, but what does this hire signal about the Knicks' priorities for the upcoming season, especially regarding their investment in youth, alongside trying to win now? Because that's the thing that they're trying to do here, right? It's clearly they're a championship team. We've talked about championship or bust with the Knicks this offseason, but they're also at the same time trying to develop the young players. So does this hire signal that, hey, we're really trying to do more of that while trying to win now?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, they've talked about this in the past. I mean, a big
Sure.
hallmark of the Steve Mills era was Craig Robertson coming in, Michelle Obama's brother, and being this like player development guru. And that didn't really work. They emphasized the G League and all this stuff, but you need talent. And the big question with the guys that we're talking about, the second round picks and Pacome Dadier, is do they have the talent? And we don't know yet. And so I think that's the biggest question, because you can develop guys all the time, but you do need talent, and we don't know yet about a lot of these guys. I think Tyler Kolek, had shown some moments in the regular season, but he didn't really impress in summer league. So I think that's the biggest aspect to all this is how talented are these young players. And I do want to add one thing because I know we've talked a lot about who's going to get that final roster spot, that
Yeah.
veteran spot. And one thing that I don't think is talked about enough, and I do believe is a real possibility, is the idea is that they don't give anybody a guaranteed contract heading into training camp. That they somehow work it so that a Landry Shamet comes in on a non-guaranteed deal, and they bring in other guys on non-guaranteed deals, and they let them fight it out in training camp to see who gets that spot. I think that still it remains a possibility.
Steph, just to follow up on that, because I think fans would love to know this too, when you bring that up and not giving a guaranteed deal and going with a non-guaranteed deal, one of the reasons they'd want to do that, I'm assuming, is it allows them to have a little bit more flexibility throughout the season, correct? That's why they would want to do that.
They would, and it also, Mike Brown could come in and say, I don't really love anybody. I want you to see you guys go after it, and who emerges on top. I think,
Mm.
having a competitive training camp in that aspect could help. I don't know the timeline on when they definitely want somebody guaranteed, and Brock Aller has that all figured out in terms of when they have to, because they have to have a certain number of
Right.
players roster. Right now they have 12 guys guaranteed, but I do think it's a possibility that you're going into training camp without a guy guaranteed for that spot. Now, a guy, if they bring in Malcolm Brogdon, he's going to want a guaranteed deal, or Malik Beasley, he's going to have a guaranteed deal. But if they're not getting any of those guys, I could see a situation where you have two or three guys battling it out for that last roster spot.
All right, something to absolutely keep an eye on, as well keep an eye on the Knicks young players as we approach training camp. Steph and I have talked. Media Day is coming up soon for the Knicks. September 23rd is right around the corner, and the Knicks take a trip to Abu Dhabi for some preseason games. That is Stefan Bondy. Check him out on nypost.com. Has a new article up about the Knicks hiring of Billy Lange. Steph, always a pleasure. Tip-off is coming soon, and we will talk soon.
All right, I'll see you. I'll talk to you then, man.